Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 2. We would like to present our material in the basic verb phrase. Our group are Gita, Ayu, Ardia, Wantana Putri, Mimbar Karunia Lestari, Dwi Styaningsih, Sindhi Nurfadila, and Yenis Qoriatul Fauzi. So let's start.
The definition of verb phrase. A verb phrase is a syntactic unit consisting of an auxiliary or helping verb preceding the main verb. It often contains a head verb, complements, objects, and modifiers as its dependents. Helping verbs may appear as is, are, be, such as was, were, been, being, have, had, has, do, did, does, can, could, will, would, shall, should, may, must, might, etc. In generative grammar, a verb phrase may consist of just a single verb. However, typically it contains a main verb, an auxiliary verb, optional specifier, complements, and adjuncts. Type of verb phrase. 1. Finite verb phrase. If a sentence has just one verb phrase, it is a finite verb phrase. The help verb is finite and either comes in present or past form. For instance, I go to college in the morning. 2. Non-finite verb phrase. In this type of verb phrase, the help verb is participle, gerund, or infinitive. For instance, she is hearing someone crying for help. Common use of verb phrase. Here is an example of using the verb phrase. The first example, despite his knee injury, he did go to gym. Here, did go is a verb phrase. Mary is going with me to school. Is coming is the verb phrase. Coming is the main verb, while is the helping verb. And the next example, Sarah might need our help for her car. Might need is the verb phrase. And then her favorite activity is reading about history. Here is reading is the verb phrase and about history is a subject complement. And the last example, he is interested in playing new games. In the sentence, the verb phrase is interested is functioning as an objective phrase complement in playing new games.
Function. There are various functions verb phrases perform. They serve as phrase heads, as predicates, modifiers, complements, and object. Verb phrases also function as noun phrase modifier, containing a word and phrase, and describing noun or noun phrase. They also work as adjective phrase complements and verb phrase complements. In traditional grammar, verb phrases function as predicates, adding meaning to sentences. In fact, verb phrases make a sentence semantically clear and comprehensible for readers. Verb phrase structure. Proper sentence structure requires both a subject and a verb, but unless that verb is in the past or present tense. Sentences use verb phrases. Using the correct verb phrase structure depends on the verb tense, the subject, and the mood of the sentence. When forming verb phrases, it's helpful to know which verbs go in each position. 1. Helping verbs in verb phrases. Helping verbs are also known as auxiliary verbs or linking verbs. They are short words that connect the subject with the rest of the sentence. Some examples of helping verbs include forms of to be is, are, was, were. Forms of to have is have, has, and had. Forms of to do is do, does, and did. Tom is tutoring his brother. The verb phrase is tutoring contains the finite verb is. It indicates that the sentence is in present tense. The speaker is singular and the mode is indicative. The word tutoring is participle, which is a verb used as an adjective. Tutoring describes Tom in this sentence. Next, number 2, modal verbs in verb phrases. Modal verbs are another kind of helping verb. These verbs express possibility, obligations, and suggestions. They include can, could, ought, may, might, must, should, will, and would. Modal verbs are also finite verbs. They are not conjugated in different tenses, but they do establish the speaker and mood. Examples of sentence verb phrases that have modal verbs are: you may finish your homework tomorrow. Should we drive to the concert together? The team must raise enough money for new uniforms this year. The modal verb must appears in sentences set in the future tenses. Other modal verbs let listeners know that they have permissions or obligation to complete the other verb in the verb phrase. Next, number 3, main verbs in a verb phrase. Now that you know how helping modal verbs work, it's time to look at the other part of the verb phrase. Main verbs establish the action of the sentence. They can function on their own or with a helping verb in a verb phrase. Examples of the main verb from the sentence above include: I don't know what channel the game is on. And next, are you going to the dance tonight? And the last is the doctor has taken an oath to protect her patients. Unlike helping verbs, main verbs provide more details about what the subject is doing. They work with the helping verbs in their verb phrases to create a full picture of the sentence action.
How to use verb phrase. Verb phrases as sentence predicates. A verb phrase can be the predicate of a sentence or a clause. In this case, there will usually be a helping verb in addition to the verb. Here are some examples of a verb phrase as a predicate. Your teachers have finished your report card. My sister hasn't decided what dessert she wants. The shoes don't fit his feet. I should ask the director his opinion. We aren't allowed to go in there. These verb phrases follow the subject of the sentence and function as the action in the sentence. Verb phrases can include all of these words in the predicate or the helping and main verb only. It depends on how the phrase is used. Verb phrases vs. verbal phrases. Verbal phrases include infinitive phrases, participial phrases, and gerund phrases. Definitions and examples of these verbal phrases include infinitive phrases. These phrases start with an infinitive plus a simple form of a verb. They can act like a noun, adjective, or an adverb. Example: she wants to show off her new dress. The phrase is the direct object of the verb wanted, so it is acting like a noun. And the next, participial phrases. This phrase will act as an adjective and begins with a participle. A participle is an adjective that has been made from a verb like talk or swimming. Example: we have to replace the window broken by the hail. The phrase modifies the noun window, so it is functioning like an adjective. Have to replace is the verb phrase. And the next is gerund phrases. These phrases act like a noun and start with a verb ending with an ing. They can be subjects or objects. Example: lying to the IRS is never a good idea. The phrase acts as the subject in this sentence. Is the only verb in this sentence.
Next, the basic verb phrase or lexical. A full verb phrase must contain a lexical verb and it may contain auxiliary verbs. In the following, the lexical verbs are in bold and the auxiliary verbs are in italics. Example: Diana plays the piano. Diana played the piano. In the sentence, the word plays and played are lexical verb. Then Anders is explaining his generalization. Maggie should have recycled those bottles. We may have been preparing his lecture. In this sentence, the word is, should have, and may have been are auxiliary verbs. Then explaining, recycled, and preparing are lexical verbs. There are 6 subcategories of lexical verbs. First, transitive. A transitive verb is one which requires a single noun phrase to complement it. Of the verbs considered above, then, treat, make, spot, throw, and inspect are transitive verbs. The noun phrase that complements a transitive verb is said to function, or more specifically, as its direct object. So, in Piltred's affectionate cats, the noun phrase within the verb phrase or affectionate cats is complementing the transitive verb treat as its direct object. Second, intransitive. An intransitive verb is one that doesn't require any further constituent as a sister in the verb phrase. Intransitive means has or and needs no complement. Sleep, die, love, and sigh or and play on one interpretation are intransitive verbs. Since an intransitive verb requires no further element to form a complete predicate, an intransitive verb counts as a complete verb phrase in its own right. So, a very simple sentence like Omar's sighed.
Next is distransitive. Distransitive verbs require two noun phrase as complements. The classic example of a distransitive verb is give. Others are send and buy. Number 1, William gave Millie some pledge. 2, the staff sent the general a message. 3, Max buy his butler all necessary work clothes. In number 1 until number 3, the first complement or the noun phrase in a bold functions more specifically as the indirect object of the distransitive verb. Indirect objects are usually the recipients or beneficiaries of the action. The second complement, noun phrase or in italic, function as the direct object. Next is intensive. Intensive verb require a single complement, which can take the form of an adjective phrase, a noun phrase, or a propositional phrase. The most obvious and commonly used intensive verb is be, as the classic example of the intensive subcategory of verb. Be is called the copula. Number 1, 8 is rather extravagant. Rather extravagant is adjective praise. Number 2, Sigmund was an auctioneer. The was an auctioneer is noun praise. 3, Oscar and the first mate were in the engine room. Were in the engine room as the professional praise. The complement of an intensive verb function, or more specifically as a predicative. Don't confuse this term with predicate. Other intensive verb, I, a, other verbs taking a predicative as complement are become, seem, appear, turn, remain, look, taste, feel, smell, sound. When a verb is complement just by an adjective phrase, you can be sure you're dealing with an intensive verb. Next is complex transitive. Complex transitive verbs take two complements, a direct object or noun phrase and an object predicative. Again, the predicative can take the form of an adjective phrase, a noun phrase, or a propositional phrase. Here are some examples with the direct object in italic and the predicative in bold. Number 1, Jake's find his own joke extremely funny. 2, they made Stella their spokesperson. 3, Lisa put the leaf wire under her bed. The last is prepositional. Prepositional verbs are called prepositional because they can only be complemented by a prepositional phrase. In this, they contrast with intense verb, which can be complemented by noun phrase, adjective phrase, or prepositional subcategory of verb is a bit of breakback. The example is makes cleanse. Cleanse is not intransitive. Next is makes cleanse the failing acrobat. Cleanse is not transitive. Last is makes cleanse at the falling acrobat. Cleanse demand a prepositional complement. You can look in this table. Transitive has a subject, verb, direct object. Intransitive is subject plus verb. Distransitive has a two. Number 1 is subject plus verb, indirect object plus direct object. And the second category is subject, verb, direct object, and indirect object. Intensive has a subject, verb plus subject plus predicative. Complex is subject plus verb plus direct object plus predicative. And the last is prepositional is subject plus verb plus prepositional complement.
Okay, that's all our explanation. We do apologize if there is a mistake. The last we say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.